While new alternative rock tour kicked off in Phoenix, Arizona on Thursday night. It's a multi-act package called the Lollapalooza Tour, and it features Jane's Addiction, along with such opening acts as Living Colour, Ice-T, Susie and the Banshees, and the Butthole Surfers.
It's 109 degrees and the excitement is running high here at the opening date of Lollapalooza, a traveling carnival of music, information and art. Let's have a look.
Lollapalooza is an annual 4-day music festival created by Perry Farrell, the lead singer of Jane's Addiction. It started off as a farewell tour for Jane's Addiction, with each band member choosing someone to bring along. But due to the huge success, it was transformed into a traveling tour for years. Lollapalooza is known for having a wide variety of music genres, a couple examples being alternative rock, hip-hop, heavy metal, and punk rock. The first Lollapalooza hosted Susie and the Banshees, Living Colour, 9 Inch Nails, Ice-T's Body Count, the Butthole Surfers, Henry Rollins Band, Fishbone, the Violent Femmes, and of course, the headliner, Jane's Addiction. In 1991, the tour went across 26 cities for nearly 6 weeks. That's 4.3 cities per week. In the words of Jane's Addiction's manager, Tom Atencio, the only real Lollapalooza was the first one. I think that was a genius one, where you had an eclectic mix of counterculture. Also in 1991, the tickets costed $31.50. Today, the tickets range from $120 to almost $2,000. The first tour made a revenue of around $3 million. The first tour was so successful that a second tour was planned for 1992, with a second stage being added to highlight smaller artists to give them a chance to grow. The 1992 tour was quite successful, but an eventual decline in profit over the next 5 years caused the festival to close in 1997. This was not the end for Lollapalooza, as the festival was revived in 2003. Though Lollapalooza was revived, it was never the same. Some argue it lost its meaning. It was made to be a tour for the outcast and now would embrace the mainstream. The new tour was stationary in Grant Park and had a majority of musicians being in the pop genre. These changes made fans of the original tour upset, but brought in a new audience. There was a lull of ticket sales in the 2000s, but by 2016, Lollapalooza was back to being a 4-day event and made heavy profit. Grant Park, the home of modern Lollapalooza, has an estimated capacity of 400,000 people, which the festival sells out annually. The fortune from this caused Lollapalooza to expand with a new branch of Lollapalooza being added in Chile in 2011. After this, Argentina, Brazil, Germany, Sweden, and France would establish Lollapalooza festivals in the following years. At the beginning of the tours, Lollapalooza was chaotic since it was a new concept. Nowadays, while Lollapalooza can be chaotic, it definitely has found its niche. Lollapalooza reaches every member of their audiences with experiences for everybody. At Lollapalooza, there are activities that will suit everybody's interests and hobbies. Lollapalooza is vital in the way traveling tours run today.
As previously stated, Lollapalooza was the first of its kind. Lollapalooza was created in 1991, and by the year 2000, Coachella, Vans Warped Tour, Family Values, Lilith Fair, and Up in Smoke Tour were established due to the influence and popularity Lollapalooza had. Lollapalooza changed the way music festivals operated, being a major change in music history. Alternative music rose to popularity from 1991 to 1996, dominating the charts. It is no coincidence that when the tour started, alternative music became more popular. The creation of the festival was a great factor in alternative music becoming mainstream. A traveling music festival had never been done before. The idea of Lollapalooza was a new sort of thing. Of course, there were music festivals before, such as Woodstock, but Lollapalooza was, in a quote said by the author of The Generational Rift 2023, something different. No one knew how big this festival would grow to be. The first one was an exceptional experience with many fun activities and each band's set being amazing. Many believed the tour wouldn't work because of the mix of genres. Our expert, Rob Janik, said, "There were people that did not understand how you could take hip-hop, like Ice-T and Ice Cube, also Arrested Development, with alternative and punk rock. They thought there would be notable problems." The doubters' concerns were proved false, with the first festival being a success with minuscule issues. Lollapalooza became the new American festival. It not only brought alternative music to popular culture, it brought genres together, which in turn brought together different audiences. This tour would give alternative artists that are not favored for radio listening a chance to gain traction. American singer and songwriter Henry Rollins says that he always knew the bands on the tour were good, but due to the restrictions of the radio, he thought the bands would never rise to popularity. He states that he is glad he was wrong and he is glad to live in a world that defies the mainstream. Countless people loved alternative music but never had the opportunity to hear their favorite artists live or even on the radio until Lollapalooza's creation. This is what made Lollapalooza so wildly successful. Alternative fans were finally given an outlet to express what they loved. Lollapalooza became a sort of safe space for fans. Fans of every band performing would come miles just to see them perform live. This made the vibe of the crowd awesome. The crowd had a shared interest, music, and this brought everyone together. Fans of rock, such as Jane's Addiction and Pearl Jam, were thrown together with fans of hip-hop, like Ice-T and Ice Cube. Without judgment or fights, attendees enjoyed the festival as intended.
So it was the first time all of this eclectic music was popular at once, and that they had gone out on tour together. And that had never really been done before. It changed the touring industry completely. You know, like I said, there weren't festivals before that. Bands would tour and they'd have to stop in each city and they'd go to all the arenas, and that was what touring was. Lollapalooza changed all that. It showed that you could take a bunch of bands on tour. They didn't have to be the same style of music, and you can create a bit of a party everywhere you go. So yeah, it changed the touring industry completely.
Countless activities were held at Lollapalooza festivals. Although the activities differed throughout the years, some activities would include airbrush and henna tattoos, horoscope readings, political and environmental booths. There was an Adobe art garden where people could create 3D sculptures. There were sponsored lounge parties, recharge stations, and autograph tents. One thing about Lollapalooza is that since it is in the summer, it is very hot. It is so hot that some people would pass out from heat stroke or dehydration. With Lollapalooza's varying locations, summer highs would range anywhere from 80 degrees to well over 120 degrees. The extreme heat causes around 100 people to be hospitalized each year.
Here, I don't know, it's really hot.
And that's the bad thing about heat, is like about the third song, you have to realize, am I going to try to keep the show up and maybe pass out or die or try to sustain?
In Arizona. I tell you, I'm from New York, man, and the show it's got to be 122 out here, right?
The heat doesn't stop attendees, though. People of all ages fill the festival each year, all finding some activity to occupy their time with. The majority of younger guests enjoy tailgating. People would sit for hours talking to their group and just overall having a great time. Others would be throwing frisbees or creating a game to pass the time. One thing to do while enjoying the concerts was to start a mosh pit. Mosh pits could get pretty crazy depending on what band was playing. Lollapalooza in the 90s was known to be an upbeat festival with thousands of fans. Numerous people have documented their great experiences with Lollapalooza. However, not all concerts were peaceful. When you have alternative rock bands, you expect something to go wrong. The Lollapalooza Festival in 1992 was one to remember. All was well until Ministry, a Black Sabbath cover of Supernaut, began to play. People thought the lights were beginning to dim. In reality, the darkness that started to spread was a big cloud of dirt and soil being thrown in the air. Fans began to tear off pieces of sod and throw them everywhere. Sod was getting into crowds' eyes, and a riot was forming. People started tearing the fences from the ground and setting the pieces of wood on fire. These actions from the crowd scared many off and created a lot of anxiety amongst fans. However, this incident did not keep fans away for long. Another incident happened in 1996. Police were called to the Gorge Amphitheater campground early in the morning and arrested 3 people after a riot, including hundreds of fans. Fans created a bonfire, refusing to let authorities extinguish it. When the cops showed up, they made an attempt to break up the crowd, but was instead hit with beer bottles and rocks. 2 patrol cars were damaged after the riot. Festival goers attributed this riot to the heat. Despite the heat, on most days, everyone still enjoyed all the fun Lollapalooza brought to the fans. Fans would show their excitement by crowd surfing, screaming, and dancing. This enthusiasm from fans warmed the hearts of the performers. With only a couple major incidents, Lollapalooza is a relatively tame festival. It is safe for the family.
Last year, Chicago police called Lolla one of the safest in history. There were 19 arrests, mostly for trespassing.
In conclusion, Lollapalooza has had a major impact on society. It has forever changed concerts for the better. Lollapalooza has bonded thousands of people, giving them an outlet of expression. Without Lollapalooza, many artists would have never been given a chance by the media, and this is what makes Lollapalooza so special.